This video is all about multiplication in Animalgebra. If you don't know what Animalgebra is, it's basically using math operations for different forms of mixing or fusions of animals or even objects. So it can be an Animalgebra equation like this, horse times parrot divided by fish, or as big as this one, to form multiple creatures that all become one in the end. If you'd like to see all the arithmetic monsters or the Animalgebra equations thus far, check my shorts. This video is the first of a series that briefly explains all the features of Animalgebra thus far and so multiplication, the most typical form of combination, I'd say. So when you multiply two animals, it simply means you take all their corresponding parts and you mix them up. So that's basically it. So for example, this one, sloth times snake. The sloth body and face, as well as the snake body and face, are the corresponding parts, i.e. the parts that they have in common. Snakes don't have limbs, so the sloth limbs here won't necessarily become as snaky, i.e. it doesn't really get multiplied to any snake parts. You could still make it as such, you could still make it quite snaky if you want, but if you want to truly follow the system, it shouldn't be as mixed. Parrot times horse is another example here. Basically, multiplication is your regular animal fusion mix sort of thing. But you need to fuse the corresponding parts. Like, I wouldn't just get a horse, put a parrot beak, and then add parrot wings and claws and a tail. That's not how multiplication works, really. You can do that in Animalgebra, but through other means and other operators, not multiplication. And those will be explored in the future. In multiplication, generally the shape of the body parts have to be in between as much as possible, which is what I really tried with the head of parrot horse here. Basically, I make it come across that neither the parrot nor the horse dominates, so a lot of back and forth actually. When I draw through multiplication, I think it's quite a fun challenge, to be honest with you, to make animal hybrids where it feels like one doesn't dominate the other and you could still see both at the same time. So when it comes to color and texture, you can be quite creative in determining that really. There are different ways basically, and I will make a separate video on those in the future probably. So what are these corresponding parts? Well, here would be the list of that. And you can see integuments as being part of this list, and integuments I think are a very important part of this. So feathers, scales, and fur are all integuments. So in this arithmon, for example, I decided to basically combine fur, scales, and feathers all together, and this is the kind of texture that I basically came up with. So I multiplied the integuments here. And of course, limbs as well are part of this. So in this same equation, the wings of the parrot, the fins of the fish, and the horse leg are all basically considered limbs here. Though to be honest, I'd probably multiply this a little bit differently now if I did it again. But yeah, they're all multiplied. This serves as a guide on which parts would be multiplied and which parts would you keep separate. So you'd multiply fish fins to cat legs or something, but you won't just multiply wings to a lobster tail, now would you? But wait! What happens if an animal has 6 limbs while another has 4 limbs? Do they become 12 like in math? Math? Well, no they don't, except it works like the distributive property of multiplication. No, but say there are 3 limbs here, and then you multiply them with 2 limbs. You basically distribute the fewer limbs to the higher number of limbs. It can be any way you want, honestly, as long as every limb is involved, I guess. So for the Animalgebraic equation, horse plus 1 minus bull raised to golden eagle, as you can see here, one has 4 pairs of limbs, and the other has 2, and horse plus 1 here also has 2 heads. So if we look at the results when we multiply them, this is what we get. So I basically multiplied the 2 front pairs of legs with the first pair of legs of bull eagle here, while the 2 back pairs were multiplied with the back legs of bull eagle. As you can see, the heads, I distributed the bull raised to golden eagle head to the separate horse and swan heads. So the 3 heads will never become 1 in multiplication in this case. If you want that to happen, there is division for that in the future. But you can make for a case. I don't have an example right now, but if the limbs are a lot, like a centipede, and then you multiply it with like dog legs or whatever, you can make for the case of just using multiple dog limbs, essentially using a number in between 4 dog limbs and 1,000 or something. You can do it like this, basically. When the other animal has an excessive amount of body parts, you don't necessarily apply the distributive property. It will become more like an average property, you could say. So to recap everything, multiplication in Animalgebra means to fully combine the corresponding parts of the animals you are multiplying, and when multiplying varying numbers of body parts between animals, you must apply the distributive property of multiplication animalgebraically. So that's it for multiplication. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you are interested in this thing. If you are, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video in explaining addition. Goodbye.